Shalom. First and foremost, all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, beginning with the 144,000 and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes whom Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai will ultimately have mercy upon in these last days. This is your brother Matazabath, residing from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And this is going to be a news and prophecy update, okay? And before I get started, I just want to give a disclaimer. I want to say Salakia ahead of time if you hear any background noise. I got my little girls playing in the background, so I'm just currently in the back, and I don't have too much any sound protection or whatever, so the sounds can easily come through the wall. So Salakia for that ahead of time if you do hear them in the background. But nevertheless, let's get it. Let me play this video real quick so you guys can see what's going on.
American citizens are increasingly turning to Australia, with dozens applying for asylum since the start of the year. At least 29 US citizens have applied for humanitarian protection visas in Australia, according to data from the Department of Home Affairs. The visa offers protection for people who are at real risk of significant harm or persecution in their home country. But the number of applicants from the US is on the rise, climbing from less than 5 in February to 14 in July. So far, no protection visas have been granted to Americans this year, but the application process can take months or years to complete. While the reason behind each application has not been revealed, there has been an uptick in the number of Americans looking to move abroad since Donald Trump returned to office. A survey conducted earlier this year found that 40% of Americans had seriously considered moving to another country, with Gen Z and millennials the most likely to head overseas. The top reasons given for wanting to leave were dissatisfaction with political leadership and desire for a higher quality of life and economic progress. What countries are they looking to move to? Well, it is Canada, the UK and Australia, who all top the list.
All right. So, and this is prophecy, okay? All right, this is prophecy, okay? People, everyone shall flee to their own land, because you don't just have, regular Americans, but you also have, people who have settled in America and have been there for quite some time, to where they have gotten their citizenship, but now they want to flee out of the country, and some of them are in predicaments where they can't actually leave to go back to their native country. So now what they're doing is they're seeking asylum just to be able to get out of America in particular. All right, so that's the first video. Now check this one out.
Just in, the US is broke. That's right, they can't agree to a budget. Not only that, but for the first time, the US citizens are applying for refugee visas to Australia. Currently, as of yesterday, there are 23 applicants, and that number is doubling each day. I've never thought in my life I would actually hear that Americans are becoming refugees. It's just in.
And we know this because it's prophecy, okay? And we're going to show you how it's prophecy. Now, let's come to the article that I was able to pull up. Let me see here. Salakia. All right. So this is real quick from theguardian.com, Australia Immigration and Asylum. All right. So to show you that this is real breaking news. All right. It says at least 29 Americans have sought asylum in Australia since second Trump presidency began. All right. And the numbers have doubled. All right. But what you're going to see here in this article is that they're not going to give you the true number, the number count as to how many applications was actually put in. OK, now it says here dozens of Americans, all right, are seeking asylum in Australia as their U.S. homeland becomes increasingly fractured and politically volatile during Donald Trump's second presidency. OK, so you have to understand that Babylon the Great, all right, and the nation's eventual fleeing and forsaking pretty much America, all right, as her destruction draws near because judgment is coming. All right. It says at least 29 U.S. citizens applied for humanitarian protection visas in the first 6 months since Trump's return to the White House in January 2025. And according to the Department of Home Affairs, figures obtained under Freedom of Information laws. The deputy chief executive of the Asylum Seeker Resource Center, Jana Favaro, said the center had also seen an increase in the number of people from the U.S. calling its helplines for advice on how to claim protection. We are deeply concerned about the increasing attacks on human rights in the United States and in particular targeting of the alphabet, Favaro said. The Home Affairs data does not include specific reasons for the applications, but to be accepted as a refugee in Australia and an asylum seeker must be assessed as having a well-founded fear of persecution due to their race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. The data shows asylum applications from U.S. citizens have steadily increased since Trump was inaugurated on January 20th, albeit from a low base. It says fewer than 5 U.S. citizens applied for asylum between February and April, and the number of applications rose to 5 in May, 7 in June, 14 in July, resulting in a minimum of 29 and a maximum of 38 lodgements over 6 months. The exact number is unclear because the department does not disclose the figures for months with fewer than 5 applications. All right. And that's why the guy said in the video that every day the number has been doubling. So we don't know what that number could be. It can be in the hundreds for all we know. It says, by comparison, Home Affairs recorded fewer than 5 asylum applications from U.S. citizens in each of the final 6 months of 2024. All the applications relate to subclass A66 onshore protection visas, which are available to people who arrive in Australia on a valid visa before seeking asylum. No protection visas were granted to U.S. citizens between January and July 2025. However, applications can take months or even years to be finalized. All right. And so that's pretty much, all I wanted to get on that. And so the first precept I thought of was, all right, getting into it. Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 16. It says, cut off the sower from Babylon and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn everyone to his people, and they shall flee everyone to his own land. Now, when you deal with the cut off the sower, symbolically, that ties into the economic collapse. All right, no more businesses, agriculture, trade, or financial growth. All right. And when they talk about, fear of the oppressing sword, that's going into the military conflict, the civil unrest, the government's oppression. All right. The ICE guys, martial law coming in. OK, as we're now seeing rising under this American governance. Right. And when it says they shall turn everyone to his own people, foreigners, immigrants, workers, students, investors, returning to their homelands. Right. Because America is no longer safe or stable. That's really what it's going into. But as I said, this is not only dealing with people who was born in the land. All right. But this can also be dealing with where you may have a person that, originally left their native country. They came to America. Right. And let's say they've been there for more than 20 years, got a green card, got a passport, became a citizen or whatever. And now that shit is hitting the fan, they may not can go back to their native country. So now they're seeking asylum elsewhere. OK, and it wasn't just Canada. The news station also included. It wasn't just Australia, but the news source cited both the UK and Canada. You see, so this also shows that this fleeing, when it says flee everyone to his own land, right, the fleeing is not limited to one group. That's what you got to keep in mind. But it affects all who dwell in Babylon. And that even goes for 2/3 of our people. Okay, they don't know what to do, but they ain't gonna be able to get a plane ticket and just dip up out of here due to their situation. All right. So yeah, really, this prophecy is going into foreigners leaving. But again, you don't know with the applications coming in because it could be a mixture. Like I said, it could be people, born on the soil, or it could be people that's not born on the soil, but they have actually been granted their citizenship. You see, but now they're trying to get out. So this is a prophecy. All right, Babylon is at its near end. Okay, this is Isaiah 13 and 14. And it shall be as a chase roe. And really, this is dealing with Esau, Edom, when the missiles come, and as a sheep that no man taketh up, and they shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Okay, so this is a direct parallel precept to Jeremiah 50 and 16. All right, confirming that this is a national fleeing due to fear and instability, and that's currently what we're seeing going on in Babylon the Great. All right. Now, in Isaiah the 13th chapter, it refers to the day of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's vengeance on Babylon. Okay. And people will be in panic mode, man, trying to get out of the U.S., as you're seeing right now, as fast as possible. Okay. Just like we're beginning to see with some Americans and foreign nationals alike. Okay. Because they see this place going down. Now, outside of them, you actually have other nations outside of Americans putting in subclass 866 applications to seek asylum. You have other ethnicities, nations that are actually hopping on planes and they're leaving America. All right, because they can see that, hey, this place is about to get judged, man. You see? So, this is what we in. All right. And ultimately, this is the Most High's judgment. And first through political and economic chaos. OK, currently we in a government shutdown. OK, and, the next judgment to come is war and destruction. That's what we waiting on. All right. This is Revelation 18 and 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins and that ye receive not of her plagues. Now, spiritually, okay, this represents the elect of Israel being called out of Babylon's wicked systems, mentally and spiritually. And you start that by what? Immersing yourself into this wise counsel through the scriptures, right? However, if you think about it on a literal level, it also ties to the time when Yahweh Shai gathers the elect from the four winds. Matthew 24 and 31 goes into that, right? So the meaning behind that precept in Matthew is deliverance out of Babylon before the destruction, which I believe, all right, a brother could put in the comment section. I think that's Job, the 5th chapter, where it talks about, and 6 troubles he shall deliver thee, right? That's what we're waiting for. So while foreigners flee physically for safety, the elect flee spiritually, preparing for a physical deliverance by Yahweh Shai. OK, and that's ultimately what Revelation 18 and 4 is going into. Because although, yes, you're going to have foreigners fleeing and stuff like that, the elect of Israel who's in Babylon the Great, OK, they're going to be delivered, OK, physically by Yahweh Shai. All right. But spiritually, OK, the elect is fleeing right now. So let's go from there. 2nd Esdras 15, verse 46, because it doesn't matter. All right. Let's stay with the foreigners fleeing. Right. Even if you flee and try to well, you know what? Let's put them both in there. Let's say, Americans and foreigners trying to flee out of the country because of the disasters that's going on with the Trump administration. Right. Let's check this out. 2nd Esdras 15, verse 46. And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee, right? It says, thou hast followed her that is hated in all of her works and inventions. Therefore, saith the Most High, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence to waste thy houses with destruction and death. All right. So you got to keep in mind, this is a warning to nations that are aligned with Babylon the Great. That includes like Canada, the UK, Australia. OK, the very nations Americans are trying to flee to. OK, you got to understand that. All right. Also, China and all of them. Right. But it says, OK, so let me read verse 50. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as the flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee. Right. So look, the end of the day, really what this is saying is because these nations have partake in Babylon's juice, that wine, which goes into philosophies and everything, the nations will not escape the judgment because they share in her system, alliances, and sins. So therefore, guess what? You try to flee and thinking you're going to be safe, whether you're coming here to Australia, Canada, or whatever, you still going to cop the judgment. You see? Because ultimately these nations, all right, they're going to be dealt with however the Lord is going to judge them. Remember, Esau, is the modern day Basra is in America, right? But the Lord is going to visit Esau's kingdom. OK, because Esau has spread himself across the four winds. Right. So though some Americans may flee there, OK, whether that be Australia, again, Canada, the UK, they're fleeing from one judgment zone to another. Because guess what? You go to Canada, you can still get persecuted by, troops. You come out here to Australia, they also have troops on the ground, too, if you've been paying attention to the protests that's going on up here. And also add in the digital ID that they are about to announce here in December. You see what I'm saying? So you once again, you going from one judgment to the next. There's no escaping the judgment. Right? Jeremiah 51:6-9, it says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Yeah. Okay. Because by trusting in, this man's system, okay, it's made them be such in a lower state and everything that they're doing. Okay. An example of that is China. They've recently, in the last 2 to 3 years, they put up so many campaigns of trying to encourage their men to be masculine again. Why? Because for so long, they've been westernized by American standard that some of their men have now become feminized or effeminate. You see? And that all comes from the wine of Babylon. Verse 8. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her take balm for her pain? If so be she may be healed, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, Salakia, and let us go everyone into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Right. So, pretty much it's another warning to separate yourself spiritually. And if, you have to repent. And this is me now speaking to the nation of Israel, starting with the elect, man. OK. But, when it says we would have healed Babylon, OK, but she is not healed. Every single attempt to fix America, whether it's through politics, elections, reforms, it's all futile at the end of the day. All right. So when it talks about let us go everyone to his own country, it's just confirmation that, the nations and foreigners, they see the end. OK, and they're starting to withdraw before the destruction, man. You see what I'm saying? So this is prophecy. All right. Last precept, Micah 2:10, it says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with the sword of destruction. That's speaking about Babylon, the great America. Don't put your hope or identity in Babylon, trying to chase the bag, trying to, streaming and all. Don't, this place finna go down. All right. This place is polluted morally, economically, and spiritually, and it's going to be destroyed. This is why they seek an asylum elsewhere. But why? Because they're feeling the pressure. Okay, the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Shai is shaking Babylon to the core right now, man, making people uneasy, causing migration and unrest. Okay, it started with the Northern Kingdom with the ICE troops moving in. Now, Southern Kingdom, all right, I seen a Jake woman, she don't know what to do. She crying. She said there was like several helicopters flying over her house all day, all right, in the projects in Chicago, because ICE troops are in Chicago now. And we told you, Southern Kingdom, get ready because you next. But you ain't want to believe the prophets, beginning with the apostles, the bishops, the elders on down. So now look at you. You see? Come on, man. All right. So that's pretty much what it is, man. And I just wanted to give a quick update, to this whole situation of what's going on. But that's just what it is. So, to see this happening, okay, these prophecies are jumping off the pages now, man. Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, okay, Second Esdras chapters 15 and 16, Isaiah 13. It's all happening. Okay, it's all happening. So I'm gonna close off there, and I want to give all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. It's on to the next, Lord's will. Shalom.